sometimes we want to splurge and get some new makeup, but today I'm going to be sharing with you a way that you can purchase makeup and it'll be a little bit less expensive, and you're also able to get the full use out of your makeup. Today I'm going to be talking about minis and what I would recommend you pick up as a mini. If you're new to my channel, my name's Tiana, and if you're returning, it is so nice to see you again. I create lifestyle content here on my channel, so make sure to go and hit that subscribe button down below. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with the occasional bonus video on the weekend. I also want to mention I had seen Kelly do this video a while ago. I found her video helpful and I didn't know some of the things that came in a mini, and when I was doing my makeup I went, I actually have quite a few minis. So I wanted to share all of this with you. So let's get into what I would recommend purchasing as a mini. So for the very first one, I'd highly recommend getting a primer as a mini. This way you're able to test out the primer, see if it works for your skin, see how long it lasts you. If you're anything like me, my skin changes season to season. So I actually bought the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. I love that primer, but sometimes it's not for me and it's just, it doesn't go with my skin. So sometimes I wish that I maybe spent the money on 2 other small primers than just spending the money on one big primer. That's also another thing. I feel like with a mini, you're able to get maybe 2 products instead of 1. So you're able to maybe have a little bit bigger of a collection, but also if you have combination skin like I do, sometimes it may be better just to spend, you know, the money on 2 products rather than 1. I would highly recommend picking up a primer as a mini, maybe until you find that one primer that's just always good for you. My next recommendation is powder. So whether that be setting powder, or I know some people use like finishing powders, but I'd highly recommend getting a powder as a mini. I purchased the mini version of the Laura Mercier Glow Translucent Powder. That actually took me a year and a couple months to finish up. I use it whenever I use concealer, which is basically daily, and whenever I do my makeup, I use powder. So I always used powder and it took me about a year to go through. I also have like a sample size of a Kat Von D powder that I have been using now for 2 or 3 months, and I'm still not even through it. So I feel like you can save a lot of money with powder, so I would just recommend picking up a mini size powder. Bronzer is my third one. I use bronzer, not a lot, not very heavy, and personally I just feel like I'm not one to go through a ton of bronzer. I have 3 bronzers right now that are all full size, and I just feel like a mini bronzer would be better than a full size bronzer, especially if you're someone like me who doesn't wear it all the time. And I just feel like even if you do, you don't use enough of it and you don't layer it all on enough to have like a full-size version, just in my opinion, because like that Physicians Formula bronzer is lasting me forever, and every single YouTuber that I watch, they still have theirs and they never really hit pan. Some do, some people do, don't get me wrong, but you know, that's just, yeah, I would just say a bronzer. Pick it up as a mini if you can. So the next one is a blush. Blush is something that I will always pick up as a mini unless I'm getting like a palette, because I have been thinking about getting like a face palette, so I have like a highlighter and a blush in one. I would prefer picking up a blush as a mini. Blush lasts so long. I have had my Tarte Amazonian Clay Party Blush for about a year and a half, maybe a little longer, and that has been the only blush I've used for a year and a half, and I've made such a dent in it and it feels so good. But if I had the regular size, I don't even think I'd be anywhere near finishing it, and I feel like I would already want to reach for another blush. The blush is only really going on your cheeks, so I personally feel like even if you get like a cream blush or a liquid blush, I'd recommend picking up a mini if possible. I just feel like you're gonna save a lot more money, you're gonna get a lot more use out of it, and like personally, I've been using the same blush for about 2 years, and I'm starting to get not tired of it because I like it, but I do want to get a different blush. So if I had that full-size version, I would have been so tired, so done, I think, because I wasn't able to see the progress. But now because I'm able to see the progress, it's like, yes, let's finish this. Let's finish it and then get a different one. So I would highly recommend getting a mini size blush. Eyeshadow palettes. When it comes to palettes, I feel like sometimes there's some that are just so big. I have a couple too that are fairly big. And what I personally look for in palettes now is that I don't want the palette to look all the same. I want a palette to be curated. I want it to have something special about it. I want it to be usable. But when I look at a big palette like my Morphe 25B, all the shades look the same. But then when I look at like my Going Coconuts palette, it's very, very small. It's got almost the same color story, but it's smaller, and you're gonna get more use out of those shades. So if you can get a more condensed and smaller palette, it's gonna fit in your collection better, it's gonna be easier to travel with, you're going to get a lot more use out of it, because I always go for my Going Coconuts palette over my Morphe 25B. Are they the exact same? No, they're pretty neutral, and I just feel like if the Morphe one was condensed a little more, I'd have such a better time using it. But I just feel like when I look at it, it's all the same. So I would rather just open up a smaller palette that has basically the same shades and same vibe, but you know, they're just more curated. When I was looking at the Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star collection, and I was thinking, do I want to get the big palette or do I want to get the small palette? And I know the color stories were different, but I was looking at it like, what am I going to use more? What's easier to store? What's easier to travel with? And at the end of the day, what's a little bit less expensive? So I just felt like getting the mini size was a lot better. So if you're ever able to get like a mini sized palette or the smaller version, I'd probably recommend that more. I mean, unless there's a couple shades from the big one that you know you would use. So I have like highlight sticks, liquid highlight, and I have been really trying to use those up prior to buying a powder. Oh my goodness, it is so hard to use up highlighter. So I would recommend getting a mini size highlighter if you can, whether that be cream, liquid, in a stick form, or in a powder, because the same thing with the powder, like a blush, you're only applying it to a couple spots, and I just feel like you're not going to go through it maybe as quickly as you would a foundation, concealer, things like that. Eyebrow products. I have had a eyebrow pencil last me for 2 years. Do you know how many times I've changed my hair color in 2 years? Lots. I actually have like the little eyebrow gel from ColourPop, and I love how it's mini because once it's done, I can either repurchase it or I can purchase something else that matches my tone a little more. So I would probably from now on, if there's a mini version of an eyebrow product, pick that up, because then you're not having to use literally a whole pot of a color that may not match you. The other thing is I see people with pomades and brow products that go dry so quickly, and the formula is not the same and it doesn't preform and look the same. So if you're able to, I would recommend picking up an eyebrow product in a mini. Lips is one that I would recommend picking up a mini, because there's nothing more satisfying than buying a new lip color for like the season or to go with an outfit. But when it comes down to it, lip products are so hard to use up. And I just feel like if you purchase a mini, then you're able to use it and say, yes, this is my go-to shade, I like it, I want the full version, or no, I'm happy I used it up and I can go from there. I also feel like lip products go bad so quickly. Within a couple years, I had 2 lip products go bad, and I know that probably doesn't sound like a lot. I don't buy a lot of lip products, and I honestly try to use everything that I have. So for 2 products to go bad, I just felt like, you know, why waste the money on full-size lip products that are just gonna go bad? And I try and use up everything that I can, but because you have so many full-size versions of lipsticks, liquid lipsticks, you know, tinted lip balms, I just feel like it's so much easier to go through a mini than it is to go through a full size. Now that being said, I really like my Just a Tint from ColourPop, and I could see myself going through one of those probably quickly, because I use that all the time, because it's just a tint. It's not a lip balm, but it's just nice and creamy. So those I could see myself purchasing full size, but if there were minis, I would pick up minis to get different colors. So I just feel like overall, if you're able to get a mini size version of a product, especially if it's something that I had mentioned in this video, I feel like concealers, foundations, those I feel like you can go through pretty quickly. So if I'm able to save money in some area for makeup, I will. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that this showed you that you guys are able to purchase smaller size items that are just as good, that are the same thing, just in a mini formula. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite product is to get as a mini, and if you have not, make sure to hit that bell and subscribe to be notified when I upload next, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.